What's going on, everybody? It's been a few days now since I raced the 8K Shamrock Showdown up in Portland this past weekend. If you guys saw my last video, then you know that this was my first race of the 2025 season and also my first ever race in the Nike Vaporfly 4. My goal for this race was to go out and compete with the people around me and try to break 24 minutes for the 8K for the first time. It wasn't the best race of my life, but overall it was a very good one, and I've got a ton of thoughts on both how my race went, what I might have done differently, the Nike Vaporfly 4. So today I'm gonna deep dive into all of that and go over my main takeaways as I sort of shift gears from my preseason stage of training into the slow build up to my main goal of the first half of 2025, which is trying to break 64 minutes in the half marathon at the Gary Bjorklund Half Marathon during Grandma's Marathon weekend in June. I live about an hour and a half away from where the race was being held in Portland. Thankfully though, the race was slated to start just after 10 a.m. so I had plenty of time to get ready, do everything I needed to do in the morning, and drive up to Portland that day rather than having to book a hotel and stay up there the night before. The event was much bigger than I expected, to be honest. I had no idea that this was such a big event for the Portland area running community. There was a huge tent with a beer garden, there were a bunch of food trucks, there were a ton of runners everywhere, even on a cold and somewhat rainy morning. When I was walking from parking to actually go pick up my bib, I had to wait quite a long time just to cross the street because there was such a huge wave of runners running through the area in one of the earlier races, which was either the 5K or half marathon that was going on. I ended up getting my bib with plenty of time to warm up. I'm not somebody who likes to take forever to warm up before my races. So for this race, I was under the impression that we were gonna be starting right at 10 a.m. and I started my warm up just before 9:30. For my warm up, I ran 2 miles. I can't remember how fast it was, probably somewhere between 6:30 and 7-minute pace. Normally, I like to take my warm-ups on sort of the faster side of things just to really get my legs sort of awake and get my heart rate spiked a little bit before I get ready to race. And typically I'll also do a couple threshold-ish effort segments towards the end of that warm-up. So I think it's really important to stimulate your legs more than just an easy jog before starting to race. And I really like to spike my heart rate, so when I do get on the line and start running fast, it's not a total shock to my system. This is something that I learned from my college coach. It's something I spent 4 years doing in college, and a part of the warm-up that when I started doing it, I really did not like, but over time, grown to appreciate it and see the important purpose of it all. Before I get into all the details and stats of my race, I do want to give a big shout out to my long-term partner on this channel, which is COROS. I wore the COROS Pace Pro heart rate monitor and COROS Pod 2 during my 8K race, so all the stats that I'm gonna be talking about came from those pieces of equipment. I've been wearing COROS products since long before we started working together, and they're technology products that I really believe in, so all the stats that I'm gonna show you guys here, I trust they're super accurate and they give me some really great metrics to use in my training and in my post-race analysis. So huge thank you to COROS for being a partner on this channel. If you guys are in need of a new GPS watch, you can use my code CTEETER at COROS.com to get a free watch band with any new GPS watch purchase. That's a super easy way to support the channel. So if you're in the market for a new GPS watch, I highly recommend you get one from COROS. They make the best products in the game. All right, time for the race recap. I did my warm-up jog, went back to my car, got my race kit on, got my race shoes on, and then headed over to the start line to get there probably about 10 minutes before I thought we were gonna start at 10 a.m. I keep saying I thought we were gonna start because we ended up getting held on the start line until closer to 10:20. So, you know, a little extra time to get some strides in. I was kind of just chatting with the people around me. Honestly, I didn't really care too much. It was probably somewhere in the low 40s, but not actually that cold. So standing around wasn't really that big of a deal. Good thing about this too was it's not like it was a cross-country race where you have hundreds and hundreds of people trying to funnel into, you know, from a big long start line to a very narrow gated part of a course. So, you know, I didn't have to go run basically an all-out 400 at the beginning of the race. We got off the line in sort of a more regular manner. Now that I am starting to talk about the race, I'm gonna go ahead and just skip to the end, share the result. I ended up crossing the line in 23:59, 24:39, so just broke the 24-minute barrier for the first time. My college PR was 24:39, so this was a 40-second PR, which is, on paper, super exciting. But there were kind of a lot of mistakes that I made in my tactics and my approach for this race, which mostly stemmed from the fact that I haven't done anything this short in quite a long time. So going into this race, I didn't really have a super strict plan for what I was gonna do, but I did have one major goal for myself, and that was to not look at my watch and focus on racing the people around me rather than getting tied up in splits and focusing on the time too much. I did execute that goal in the sense that I didn't look at my watch during the entire race. However, I didn't really do the best job of racing the people around me. I'm somebody who likes to race very patiently. That's part of what I think suits me as a marathon runner. When I raced CIM, I spent basically 18 miles doing as little work as possible and just focusing on sitting with the people around me and the pack that I settled in. For this race, I settled into a pack with 2 other guys. Once we were 2 miles into the race, we were probably about 10 to 15 seconds back from another pack of 3 that was basically the race for third. And I never really made a huge effort to push up to that further pack, even though I was feeling really good. I leaned into that aspect of patience, and with a race as short of an 8K, I really needed to be more aggressive. The other downfall of this is because I didn't look at my watch, I really did not realize how much I slowed down in the second half of the race. I was feeling pretty good, so if I had just looked down at my watch and saw the pace I was running, I definitely would have kicked myself and been like, oh, come on, man, you're fitter than that and you should speed up. But because I didn't look at my watch, I didn't make that conscious decision to speed up. So I think there was just a little bit of a misjudgment on my strategy here where I didn't really fully commit to being competitive and trying to push and race for place, for example, trying to win that race for third place. But I also didn't run things totally even in terms of time. Taking a look at the splits of the race, I see a lot of positives here. The first of which is that my first mile and second mile were 4:40 and 4:43. In past years, going out that fast would have really felt fast and hard to me, but this time it felt like an appropriate effort. I felt very smooth and controlled, and it didn't feel like I was pushing at that stage of the race. The way that this course was set up was that it's literally just 4K out, 4K back. So we had a very sharp hairpin turn halfway through the race. If you look at the pace graph on my COROS app, you could see right at that turnaround, I lost a lot of momentum and slowed down without even noticing it. Big takeaway there is not to be afraid of looking at my watch for a stimulus in a situation where you break rhythm, because I really could have used some feedback there to say, hey, you slowed down, you're feeling good, you didn't need to slow down, and you can speed back up. Another thing here, just generally talking about tactics in this race, is I didn't really ever get to a point where I had my foot on the gas. I was being very passive the whole time, and I kicked it in a little bit in the last maybe somewhere between 200 and 400 meters. But after I crossed the finish line in maybe 30 to 60 seconds, I already felt good again, and I just felt like I ran a hard workout rep. So I ended up leaving a lot in the tank. Basically, the moral of the story here is I think I could have gotten a lot more out of myself if I had executed a better race plan. Now, there is a really huge positive to this, and that is that I ran a huge PR and broke 24 minutes in the 8K for the first time without executing a good race plan. So to know that my base fitness is in a place where I can still go out there and run that fast without actually running a very good race tactically and strategically and maximizing my effort that I had to give on the day, that's super exciting. My entire purpose of the first 2 months of the year, basically mid-January through mid-March, was to get to a place where I feel like I significantly improved my 5K to 10K speed and strength, and this race gave me confirmation that I absolutely did achieve that. Now, switching gears a little bit to talk about the shoes. Again, like I said, this was my first ever race in the Nike Vaporfly 4, and I really enjoyed these for the 8K distance, and I'm planning to take these all the way up to the half marathon at the end of the spring based on how they felt during this race. A couple key things that I noticed, again, like I said in my initial review, these shoes are super lightweight. I noticed it during the race, specifically in those first couple miles. They really seemed to disappear on my feet in the sense of the weight. Another thing that I noticed is they are pretty unstable. I noticed in my left foot, especially in the first couple miles, that I was wobbling a little bit upon landing, I think that's because I land slightly further back on my midfoot, on my left foot than my right foot. And as you can see here, the profile of the shoe, especially in that mid to heel area, is very narrow. So if you're somebody who needs a lot of stability in a race shoe, or even a little bit of stability in a race shoe, this might not be the best option for you. I kind of had that conscious feeling for the first couple miles, and then after that, it went away and the shoes felt very natural underfoot. There was a really good spring forward transition feeling in the forefoot. It also felt very adequately cushioned under my forefoot. Like I said, I'm planning to take these up to the half marathon after my experience in this race. I talked about the COROS Pod 2 in a past video and how I've been using it to track stats like my ground contact time, stride ratios, and particularly my left-right balance, which is the time I'm spending on the ground on both my left and right feet. And one thing that I did notice about this race in the Vaporfly 4 is that I spent almost exactly 50-50 time on my left foot and my right foot throughout the duration of this race. I mentioned in a previous video that that was something I was working on. I noticed when I initially got the COROS Pod 2 and started tracking that type of data, that I was spending on average significantly more time on my left foot than my right foot. And so it's good to see that some of that training paid off over the last couple months, and also that the Vaporfly 4 supports that good form for me. Another thing I noticed is when I did finally shift gears a little bit in that last 200 to 400 meters of the race, these shoes did a really good job of helping me do that shift. I know sometimes with certain shoes, especially, you know, if you're doing a workout and just a pair of daily trainers, it kind of takes a little bit more energy to sort of shift gears and adjust your cadence and pick your knees up a little bit more. The transition in this shoe for that type of effort change was great. Overall, good race, very happy to get under 24 minutes and very happy with sort of executing my last 2 months of training to put me in a better spot of having a foundation of speed and strength going into building up volume for the half marathon distance. I've got some really exciting stuff coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks, so stay tuned for upcoming videos. It's gonna be a really exciting start to the spring in the next couple weeks before I start my official half marathon build up YouTube video series. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments or questions about the Vaporfly 4, my training, my racing, anything else, feel free to leave those down in the comment section and I will do my best to either reply to you directly or answer those questions in a future video of mine. As always, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.